and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Then they're not protected by their title. They're personally liable because they've stepped outside their role.
Whichever tentacle of the monster you follow down from the central hub, whether that be politics, whether that be health, whether that be education, economics, the media, etc., 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 you come to criminals. Follow the chain of command to the top, away from the coalface, and you arrive at exponentially increasing amounts of criminality.
So once we're aware of this, we can then operate from up here. We can call any government agent on their oath, and we can invoke their liability. By the way, this is the same setup in Canada and virtually every country. We'll learn more in episodes to come, but for now, let's investigate more into how all this is actually working on the ground.
Perhaps starts with corruption and then moves into darker, more shadowy areas, shall we say. The further you get away from the overt presentation to Joe Public and the masses, you get to more shadowy, offstage areas that are above the law. And here's the tentacle that we're getting to, the law.
And will, to the best of my ability,
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Law enforcement. We've got criminals clearly at large, at the top of society, who are even being presented to us in a way that makes fools out of us.
Well, your rights never disappear. You waive them in order to be represented by somebody else.
Here in Britain, we have a character you may have heard of, ex-Prime Minister Tony Blair, who's a war criminal, a genocidal war criminal. The man, with his colleague Alistair Campbell, the spin doctor media guy, copy and pasted together a document that created this illusion that we were in desperate need of governmental protection from an enemy that didn't exist, and that we're all in grave danger of being killed unless we all got behind his policy, which was a complete fabrication, falsity, lie, which led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Middle Eastern civilians dying through the industrial military complex. And these military complexes are, these industrial complexes are not just with the military. You'll find them an industrial complex with pharmaceutical industry, with all sorts of other areas. The legal system, for example, it's a sausage machine, a money-making operation, whereby the humanity is exploited with which to milk humanity for their prosperity in terms of money. So law is what is needed at the moment. We need to have a trustworthy system of legality, of justice. So how come that's missing?
So the next time the age-old question comes up, how the heck can they be getting away with this? You now have your answer. It's by our unconscious agreement.
What has happened to law? Did we ever have a legal system that we could trust in? Here's a guy called Cal Washington. He's looked deeply into the machinations and the sequential steps between the average citizen and the big macro legal framework with which society and culture exists under. And this is not just here in the UK. This is in the USA and South Africa, Australia. Most Western countries have this basis of common law that has somehow been lost. You know, that's a euphemism for erased by a criminal fraternity that have got so high up into the clouds of the ivory towers that it's difficult to identify and bring into focus. But here's Cal Washington. Have a little listen to him.
This is the basic idea of how a jurisdiction works. This is you, and you work at Walmart, and you work in the automotive department. And there's a manager there, and he said, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars per hour, and you have to show up here and put hours in as I say. And you go, okay, I agree to that. Now, what if the automotive guy tells you, I want you to show up on Sunday night at 2 o'clock in the morning when the store is not open? You could go to the manager of the Walmart store and say, this guy's trying to make me come in when we're not open. That's against your policy. The automotive manager cannot make you do something that's outside the jurisdiction of the Walmart store. Now, the Walmart store is in Detroit. This is a corporation. So now Walmart, because it's in Detroit, has to obey the rules of Detroit. Now, outside of Detroit is Michigan. It's a corporation. And Detroit is subject to the laws of Michigan. Now, Michigan is inside what is called the USA. It's another corporation, and Michigan is part of that corporation. Now, outside of this is the real USA, the original republic. Unfortunately, they sound the same. So people think that they're here when they've agreed to be in here. Just like you agreed to go here. And there's people that are wondering why the Constitution doesn't work in courts. Because the courts are here. So when you bring the Constitution in, they're going, that has nothing to do with us. You think you're here, but you're actually here. And that's the biggest problem. What you have to understand is this is subject to this. You just got to approach it in the right way. They don't tell you this, though. You're assuming you're here, and they will let you think that, but you're actually here. And you're there by agreement. Just like Walmart. Now, there's another set of laws called the law merchant. This law merchant is a set of laws to govern what we call commercial law or admiralty law. Outside of this USA, and actually part of this Republic of USA, which is the original, this is where the Constitution is what's called the common law. So the United States was founded on the common law, as was Canada, and they are still both functioning. But you got to know how to invoke them. So once I understood this and I learned a little bit about a law merchant, and then I knew that Canada was a corporation, and I knew that the courts were just another corporation inside that, I started treating them like that. This is just business. And you guys are subject to these outside things. So as long as I'm out here, I'm above you. And so I started trying stuff. I went into court, and we usually wait outside the courtroom because I don't like to doing all the bowing to the judge. It's very ritualistic.
Do people have lesser rights if they're represented by a lawyer or by an attorney?
A judge will look at your actions. So if you come in saying, I got this right and I got that right, but you're represented by a lawyer, he's going, no, he, in his mind, he's just looking at you, no, you don't get it, you don't have those rights. You can say that all you want, but you've waived them. So he will assume that you don't have those rights, and he will make his judgments safely accordingly.
Is that why traditional legal processes, especially in issues of magnitude, such as the worldwide agenda to deploy radiating surveillance meters, is that why traditional legal processes don't seem to be successful?